The next thing we see, and this one is quite should I use the word now, pathetic or pitiful, in the same chapter, chapter 12, from verse 10 to 19. But I'll just read a few verses there and then draw out the point. Chapter 12, let me read from verse 10. It said in verse 10, and there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And there was a famine in the land of promise. There was famine in Canaan, the place God told him to go and stay. And when he got there, the place, there was famine there, there was drought there was scarcity there was lack there. Let me point out something here before I move on now. Now, because you are in the land of promise, or because you are at the center of God's will, does not mean there will not be times of famine or times of scarcity or times of maybe opposition or oppression. It is your response in these situations that will now show your faith and your faithfulness to God. But for the case of Abram here, we see the third thing we see is that the search for greener pastures. The search for greener pastures. When Abraham saw that there was famine in Canaan, famine in the land of promise, his natural instinct, his survival instinct was to search for greener pastures. We didn't see this man now asking counsel of God. The one that told you to leave your father's house, that told you to leave your familiar place and say to a land that I will show you, and then immediately you were confronted by difficulty and challenges. The expected thing from what you have learned was that this man should have asked God, what should I do from this point? Instead, he followed survival instinct or survival mode. And this is the challenge, or this is the condition of several people, several believers, that in the search for greener pastures, in the search for better economy, in the search for promising jobs, in the search for more paying jobs, in the search for better opportunities, they have left their land of promise. They have left the place where God planted them. They have left the place of their purpose. They have left their primary assignments. They have left their location. They have now been dislocated because they are in search for greener pastures, because they are in search for what seems to be better. And so many of them, they have left the place where they ought to be. And the danger here is that when you leave your location, when you leave where the Lord plants you, you are going to expose yourself to evil. When you read down, you see that Abram began to scheme. He became fearful. When you leave where God plants you, you are leaving the coverage and the counsel of God. Think about that. When you leave the place where God plants you, when you leave the place where God asks you to stay, you are leaving the coverage and also the counsel of God. You are leaving the wisdom of God, because the God that said you should be in a particular place, his wisdom, he has already seen the end from the beginning. And he who is wise, and he who is just, and he who is the all-knowing God said, stay here. It is only wise for you to abide by the instruction. It may not look like it. The land of promise, or the place where God has planted you, may look as if it's dry or dreary, or maybe there's famine, there's scarcity there. But if he's the one that has asked to stay there, stay there. Let me show you a similar situation. You see in Genesis chapter 26, a similar situation, talking about even Abram's descendant. Chapter 26 of Genesis, I'll read verse 1, then I'll go to verse 12. He said, and there was a famine in the land, beside the first famine that was in the days of Abram. Do you see it now? He said, and Isaac went on to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar, and the Lord appeared unto him, unto Isaac, and said, go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I told you of. Do you see it now? Many are times when we are confronted with challenges, the survival instinct, the survival mode just switches on, and you just want to do things your own way. Oh, that place seems, more profitable. That place seems to be booming. Let me go down there. But for us who are God's own children, for us who are led by the Spirit of God, we don't act by sight. The Bible said we say we don't walk by sight, but walk by what? By faith. You go back to God and ask for instruction. Should I move? Should I stay back? Should I take any step? And for Isaac, he was already going to the survival mode to move down to Egypt, and God intervened. God intercepted him and said, "Don't go down to Egypt." And thank God, you obey. Look at verse 3. He says, "Sojourn in this land, and I will bless, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee, for unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abram thy father." Look at verse 12 now. Then Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year an hundredfold, and the Lord blessed him. And he sowed in that land, the land that was plagued by famine. And the Bible said, and he sowed in that land and received an hundredfold. And the Bible said, and he waxed great and went on to become very great. So it's about where God has planted you. It's about where God asked you to stay. And when you stay in that place, yes, there might be seasons of famine, seasons of scarcity, seasons of opposition. See, even here where Isaac was, there was opposition. He built a well. Abimelech's servants came and they closed the well. He dug another well. They came and closed it. He dug another. They came and closed it. But he remained because God has said, "Stay there." And when he stayed there, eventually God vindicated him. God intervened for him, and God made him prosperous. So we see the search for greener pastures.